Hi there, guys, and welcome to this week's edition of the Weiss Crypto Sunday Special with me, your host, Chris Coney. My guest analyst today is the lovely Marija. Marija, welcome back to the Sunday Special.
Thanks for having me, Chris. Hi.
Thank you very much for being here. So today we're going to go a bit deeper into NFTs, but I've called this episode From $100 Million Digital Art to Playable NFTs. So that's like about as concise as I can put the thoughts that I was having when I came up with this idea. So let's start general and then go more specific. So when I started thinking about this, I thought, okay, I'm always going down to the root cause of things, like simplifying what's the base of it all. And investing, all we ever talk about is price, basically. That's the thing we're always discussing. So price, but then we're talking about, so that's one thing. But then the next level up from that is, well, there's always two forces acting on the price. And it could be the price of anything. There's something pushing the price down at any one time and things pushing the price up at any one time. And that's like supply and demand. If there's a stronger force pushing the price up than down, it goes up. And if there's a stronger force pushing it down than up, it goes down, right? And that's what we're constantly trying to guess. Where is the balance right now and where is it going to go? And when we chart it, we're charting it historically, and then we try and use that to project where it's going to go in the future. That would be technical analysis. But then we do fundamental analysis, where we see, well, based on what's happening in the world and the direction we think it's going, where's the price going to go, right? And what forces are going to act on the price. So that's everything that has a price, which is pretty much everything in the world, right? But this is about NFTs and digital artworks that we're going to talk about today. So then I started thinking about these two forces, how they act on art. So physical artworks was the example I gave. So a canvas painting, a classic, like did this last time, a Van Gogh, not Mozart or whatever I said last time. So the thing about physical artworks is they do decay, right? They can get damaged and so on. So the classics that were, say, painted in the 1500s, you would expect over the years that the scarcity of those things would increase. Now, I know $100 million artworks are, because people know they're perishable, they're in museums and they're in airtight glass cases just to make sure that they're preserved. That just makes me think about the Da Vinci Code, where they've, that's what the whole film's about. So they're trying to slow that process of decay down by preserving it, but accidents happen, thefts happen, stuff like this. So, that's a force, doesn't matter how strong it is, that makes physical artworks more scarce over time, right? Because they either get destroyed in wars or whatever, right? Confiscated by dictators. But that isn't something that can happen to digital artworks, right? So that's why I started thinking about the distinction between the two. So that force where if physical artworks are getting more scarce, that's something that would be increasing the scarcity and pushing the value up over time. But this is something that I think everyone's trying to get their head around about NFTs, and this may be even a problem with valuing art that's always been there, is that art does go in and out of fashion. So that's a kind of, it's an inconsistent demand, right? And it very much depends on why you're buying the artworks. So let me ask you a question here. I suppose right now, one of the most desirable NFT collections are, in my opinion, the CryptoPunks, right? So, I mean, will they ever fall out of favor, is what I'm thinking. Do you think they'll ever fall out of favor?
I think they will have swings in prices, but I don't think they will ever fall out of favor because, they do represent an important snapshot in history of crypto, and they're one of the first NFTs, and they have become some kind of digital flex, especially if you buy them and you use them as your avatar, as your profile pic.
Social, exactly.
It's exactly, yeah. It's like you would, carry a Rolex on your hand, but it's even more prestigious because and cool because not many people know about NFTs, and it's like a signal for recognition.
You said there that there'll be swings in prices, but why? Why will that?
Because the NFT market, like any other market, has its bullish and bearish periods. Right now, we are in a bullish period for NFTs.
Okay. So bullish and bearish periods based on what though? Because that kind of carps back to what I was just saying about specific. When I was talking about art going in and out of fashion, but I was talking about, say, specific collections or styles. Like, who is the guy? Jackson Pollock. Do you know who that is?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So that is a very distinctive style that if you don't appreciate what he was doing, you just think it's garbage, right? And art tends to be like that. If you don't get it, you just think, oh, that's junk. Whereas if you need it to be like a painting like the Mona Lisa, it's like a photograph, then you go, oh, I get that. That looks like a photo, but I know it's a painting. That's skillful. Therefore, I think it's valuable. And none of that Jackson Pollock malarkey, right? Whereas in his time, and even perhaps today, those paintings go for ridiculous money. So this is why the art market and pricing it is very difficult to put your finger on. So do you have any idea why you'd have, or what would cause a bull market or a bear market in any given, well, for like CryptoPunks, for example? Because at the minute we're in this transition to the world's getting more and more digital all the time, right? And perhaps Gen Z's coming in, going, I don't want none of that Jackson Pollock business, but I'll spend money on a CryptoPunk because it's cool. But why is it cool? That I don't get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, when it was given for free at the beginning, like CryptoPunks, and then they gained notoriety, they were always popular, a kind of cult-like project. Even it doesn't look like much. You have these pixelized characters. They look easy to make, etc. Yeah. But in recent months, it became digital flex, and you have all these high-profile people like Jay-Z and Paul Logan, YouTuber, that got on the train and they used it as their avatars. Actually, right now we have an avatar mania. And right. This is what's driving the current bull market. So for NFTs, we had all these cute or cool projects that issued, I don't know, maybe 10,000, usually 10,000 series of 10,000 different avatars that are similar enough so you can be considered a tribe or a follower of that project. But also they all have their own rare traits, which gives them uniqueness, and some are rarer than the others, which gives the difference in the price. And then we have the floor price, which is extremely important, because when the floor price is rising, the floor price means the price of the cheapest NFTs from one project.
In the entire collection, right? Gotcha.
In the entire collection.
So the floor price for a CryptoPunk would be the cheapest one you can get out of the 10,000.
The cheapest ones are $200,000.
$200,000
for CryptoPunk, yeah. And then you have the most expensive ones are sold for over $20 million, $30 million. They're very expensive, even though you get one image. But yeah, I totally understand. There are people who really value their online persona, and this is not just about getting yourself an avatar. And it's very interesting. You know what's interesting? It's interesting that I haven't met a person on crypto Twitter that uses someone else's NFT. They're using their own NFTs, which they bought. It's very rarely you will see, or maybe I haven't met anyone like. It's very interesting how people really value to own what they display right now in the Twitter crypto world. And Yeah, so it's interesting. You have all these avatar projects coming out. Of course, not everything is successful, but most of them reach. The problem also is that most of them are issued on Ethereum. And in order to mint them on Ethereum, you have a very high transaction fee.
Sure.
So your floor price cannot really go. No one wants to sell beneath what they minted it for.
Sure. Absolutely.
So you won't find, below $300 projects below $300. Not because people think it's worth that much, but because their initial minting price fee was high. So,
and I suppose that depends on when you mint it. So some NFTs that were minted when Ethereum transaction fees were $300,
yes.
Unfortunately, doesn't matter what demand there is, they've got to get that back somehow, right?
Yeah, but but you have many projects which were minting. There was a gas war during the minting process, and people were fighting over those mints. And yeah,
Why did you mint it later?
they paid like $1,000 or $2,000 for gas just in order
Why
to.
though? Why does it have to be minted there and then? Why not wait? Why the battle for time?
Because it's cheaper. Usually, if you believe that project is gonna make it, and you want to enter the mint phase, and you don't actually know what you're gonna get. It's like a lottery.
Sorry, you the collector or you the investor?
You as a collector, investor,
Okay,
whatever.
sorry, I thought you meant the projects were doing that. Okay, gotcha. That makes more sense.
They're like, okay, there is a drop now. There is a mint drop, and then if you are informed early enough, and you want to get involved in that drop, then you have to, kind of fight with other people who also want to mint those because they're cheap during the drop.
Yeah,
they're very.
That's exactly the
cheap.
same as the ICO mania, right?
Not quite, but similar.
It's the same in the sense that like the 10x, if you ever the 10x project, because a lot of those ICOs that were totally decentralized were smart contracts that had, say, a maximum cap of 1 million tokens, and then when they opened the ICO, you would send your Ethereum to the smart contract address, and it would then mint the tokens and send them back. And that's what happened. The same thing is that when the ICO opened, everyone mashed it and tried to race the transaction through, and the gas wars appeared, right? So it's the same in that regard.
Yeah, indeed, this looks similar to IDO's initial DEX offerings of some kind. And they sell out very quickly, like 15 minutes, half an hour. And then you have all these people fighting over to mint and see what they're going to get because the picks are revealed right after. And usually if the project is successful, especially now during the bull market, you earn a lot. You can earn a lot. So
that's
it's
a quirk.
additional incentive.
We should probably explain that quirk you were just talking about there. So you said, so the initial minting phase, just make sure this is clear to the audience. So like this reminds me of, I'm totally ripe for this because, when was this? This has got to be 20, 25 years ago. I'm a big Star Trek and Star Wars fan. And back in the day, there was this company called Decipher, and they got a license to make the Star Trek collectible card game. It was a card game, but also you bought packs. And this is where all this NFT stuff has come from. I went down to Hewin's Hobbies in town, and I went and paid £1.99, and they'd give me it's like a playing card size, foil pack, and I'd crack it open, and there'd be 9 cards in it, 1 rare, 3 uncommons, and 6 common cards, right? Oh, I haven't been that. That's probably adds up to the wrong number, but you get the idea. And then you would fumble straight through to the rare one and see what it was, right? Because they were the most powerful in the game, and you'd check them off your list, which I always wanted to collect the sets, and on it goes. So what you're talking about is the digital version of that. So you're saying, say, let's use CryptoPunks as an example. I'm not sure if that worked like this, but say on day one, there are 10,000 variations of CryptoPunks, but you don't get to choose which one you get in the minting phase, right? You just pay your fee, and then when they've all sold out, say, the blockchain reveals all the cryptographic secrets, and you see which one you got, right? And it's kind of like simulating that opening of the pack, right? Like I did back in the day. and then so it's got that same uncertainty to it, right?
Exactly. That's the most exciting part, actually, about
I'm totally with that.
And it's usually limited, like you can, mint 2 or up to 20. So yeah, it's very interesting process. But the point is, like, not many people know when the projects are going to be minted. They're not informed. They maybe find out later about these NFTs, or kind of hear about them only when they become more successful and they want to own them. So you get other buyers. We call them second-hand buyers.
Yeah,
So there's a limited edition of these things, and there are people who want to own them, and even like if there are 10,000 NFTs in one series, and you have 3,000 people who are minting them, and the limit is 20 per one person, people are going to fight, because there's not going to be enough for all those people who want more.
To get in the mint phase.
Yes. So yeah. It's something like that. And then regarding the value of the project, it's usually determined by the volume of trading. Like if there is an interest in the project, you would see it usually by the increase in volume traded. So if people are continuously trading
the secondary market,
on OpenSea, for example, because OpenSea is the biggest and the most popular marketplace for NFTs. It's so big that it's eating the most gas on Ethereum,
I noticed that more than Uniswap now. I couldn't believe it.
Yes.
I actually saw that by accident. I was just on Etherscan and I was like, see the gas guzzlers list. I'm like,
okay, yeah, that's what I don't like about NFT craze, is that the gas fee has gone up so much. Like yesterday, or you would pay $100 for one swap again on Uniswap because of NFT craze on the other side.
Yeah, so yes, it's a public network and everyone's sharing that capacity. So
exactly,
right? Yes. So I'm sure you're happy that the NFTs thing is succeeding, but you don't like the fact that.
No, I really, it's very addictive.
I know.
You have some, it's not just about, like, you have these amazing, crazy communities which are connected to PFP, to avatar kind of projects. Then you have the communities that are kind of connecting through the art projects, art launches, or gaming, NFT games, etc.
We'll get onto that in a minute, because that's another rabbit hole. So I just want to make a point here. When you said some people miss the minting phase because they don't hear about the minting event before it happens, and then end up on the secondary market, right? Well, I wrote down there, that's actually an impossible problem, because you can't wait to launch until everyone's heard about it. You can't guarantee everyone's going to hear about it. You do your best to advertise and get the word of mouth, but still not everyone who is interested is going to hear about it in time. So that is an impossible problem for every project, I imagine. So that's not something that we can solve very easily, because you can only read so many emails, text messages, and so on. So even
you have websites, you have where to look for upcoming mints, but you wouldn't be available, or you wouldn't know which ones are going to be successful. You can guess, or you can get involved in a couple of mints, but also you need really to be involved with the community in Discord or other groups, chat groups, and speak with people. But you will notice, for example, influential people. And if they are,
you're doing that to try and work out if it's going to be successful.
You like large collectors, influential people, etc. They're all in these Discord groups where you can chat with them, where you can, get to know them. And if you're kind of involved in the community, you will hear here and there, like, these people are going to get involved. The things that are not really advertised. And
the whale collectors.
Many, not just that, but also deeper research. Like when you have all these small like all these people from the community researching this or that upcoming mint, looking at the team or the artist behind the project, or what their previous projects, what they did previously, and they may find some value in some of those, behind some of those projects. It's quite complicated, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
And no one can guarantee that one project will succeed on the level of CryptoPunks or I don't know, Bored Apes or other projects, or Penguins. Like Penguins were a total surprise. Like,
was that a successful one? Because I saw that, I did see that. Was that a good one?
Yeah, it's crazy successful. Yeah.
Penguins, who'd have thought?
Yeah. So yeah, like all these projects somehow.
I think that's just art, though, isn't it? That's art in general. That's how art works. It's like, it's very difficult. Well, I'm going to quote Steve Jobs now. It's very much the people don't know what they want until you show them it thing. So with art, it's not as if you can do a market research survey and ask people, what kind of art would you like to see? Because people don't know, right? Art is an original creative work. And because it's original, no one can ask for something they've never seen. So if you or I come with an original piece of art, until we've created it, no one can demand it. It's kind of back to front in that way.
Well, like here in NFT space, you already have collectors who are collecting certain artists. So, for example, if it's a Mi-Song artist or some other famous NFT artist, like they will follow what they're doing. Are they getting involved in some multi-artist project? If they are getting involved, I'm getting involved as a collector because I want to own. I want to invest in the project. So there are already serious collectors that follow either artists, or they're following the teams that are issuing the projects, right. Or there are kind of and there are some serious music or other NFT projects that have gained, or photo projects that have gained. They're so expensive, you cannot even imagine. Like
photo
crazy.
Projects. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, photo projects, like yeah.
So interesting. That's very interesting. So that means that those investors are more interested in the artist, right? Than because they're like, well, there's something that gets them interested in the artist. But once they're interested in the artist, then they say, well, I like their style. I think they're going to be successful. So I want to know whatever they create. I want to see what it is. So how am I going to liken that to the real world? For me, that would be Linkin Park. So after their first two albums, I'm like, these guys, this is it. I'm sold. So I just watched them like a hawk for every album they released, right? And they had my attention from then on, right? And that was it. I'm a lifelong fan of theirs. And I've loved everything they've come out with. So
yeah, and especially the validation is very important. Like you have now these photographs from Justin Avezzano, Twin Flame collection, which is now going to be auctioned off by Christie's, Right. So you have all these levels of kind of validation of the project. Like if it's Jay-Z using it as his profile photo, or Christie's auctioning off that NFT project, or I don't know, people reaching 69 million or whatever the price was, or things like that, and then you're looking at these are how the high profile and high price projects reach mainstream.
Well, that's just okay. So I'll just write down there. So the art gains value by social consensus and influence. That's what I just wrote down there in response to what you just said. Because that's basically what you just said, right? Like the Christie's brand, if you're featured, or what's the Winklevoss platform called? Nifty Gateway.
Nifty, yeah.
Right, okay. So because so we got Winklevoss Brothers, and then you've got the Nifty Gateway. So that immediately, that brand inherits their brand affinity from the Winklevoss twins, who are hardcore, crypto people. They're one of us. And then if you get featured on Nifty Gateway, you've got this double brand inheritance. So even an artist who you'd never heard of, it could still gain traction by inheriting the approval of those bigger brands. And then Christie's, obviously, go on. Go and speak.
Yes, it's very interesting what you said. For example, there is a project now. I was kind of learning a lot about it, and they had 55 artists, and some of them are very well known, and some of them are less known. So, but are also very, very good, but not as famous as the ones. And but even these artists can kind of raise their reputation by being involved in the same project with these high-level and well-known artists. So it's good for, like, everyone can kind of find something to artists can be more successful, and it's also easy to, like, if some artist has sold his works for 36 Ethereum on Super Rare, if they get involved in a project which has 100 so not unique images, but like 100 of the same images in the same project.
Prints, whatever, mints, whatever we call them.
Copies. Yes, then maybe some people will say, okay, maybe the fair price for this, where you get 100 pieces in a series of, but the same, are going to, of course, be cheaper. They're not going to be 36 each, because this is for the unique, one of a kind. But if it's like 100, then you kind of take that into consideration.
Dilute it. Yeah, totally.
It's complicated. I think it works. Sure. In a way, there are some similarities to a regular art world or any other industry of that kind. But this is also more specific, and some things are more easy to quantify, and that's why it makes it exciting. And there are also so many now analytics platforms popping up, and not enough, unfortunately, at the moment, but we are getting there, with measuring the floor prices, the increase in volume of projects, the increase in the number of holders, things like that.
Okay. But I mean, analysis is one thing, but it's still not, I suppose this is universal to investing as a whole. It's still not a guarantee though, because I know why you do analysis on the art market is because if you're an investor that wants to make money, even though art, you could say, isn't really about money, it's about the creative process, that doesn't stop the money makers of the world wanting to reverse engineer it, right? But I don't think it can entirely be reverse engineered. There is no formula for working out what's going to be a successful art project and what isn't, right? You'll never lock that down with 100% certainty, I don't think.
Well, if you're in this space long enough, in the NFT space, you will notice certain marketing tricks, certain things that it's not really, God knows how this project became successful. It's not like that.
Random. No, I don't think it is actually.
It's not absolute, and it's not really random. There are formulas for that. And if you are an investor for a long time, in NFTs, you would know what the project needs in terms of marketing, business development,
like a basic checklist of things,
community management, how it needs to be done in order to become successful. Yep. So, there is a process which can be applied.
And of course you would say that because you're a Weiss analyst, and that is how I imagine you select recommendations for the crypto assets, right? They might meet all the criteria, and that becomes a official Weiss recommendation, which gives it a high chance of success, but it's still not a guarantee because you can't guarantee what the rest of the market's going to do, right? So, I mean,
there's never a perfect asset.
No, absolutely.
It doesn't exist. So once you if it ticks majority of the boxes, you always have to make a trade-off and say, okay, maybe the economics of this project is not perfect, or maybe unlocking is not perfect, or whatever. But on the other side, I think it's going to be offset by whatever increase the locking of coins because of this demand or that demand, or so it's never perfect, but you need to work with high chances.
Yes. So you're balancing those two forces. It might be like, well, the team is taking more of a percentage than I might like, but it's okay because on the other side, this is a big benefit and it's going to have high demand or whatever. And so that's why you've got to have, I mean, let's talk to Martin Weiss about this. You can't just do it all algorithmically. You can have the algorithms crunch most of the data, but then you need human beings to take the baton and do that bit, which is the intangible kind of balancing act of this is going to be a goer or not, right? So that I don't know what we're doing in our minds to do that, but that's what humans do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Weiss rating is another thing. It's completely done. It's not done by people. It's done by the algorithm.
No, I meant like the recommendations from the newsletters.
No. Yeah, recommendation by the newsletters are done by people, but the Weiss rating is done completely by algorithm. It's not done by people. Yeah, I wanted to, when we talk about NFTs, let's go back to NFTs. The biggest issue with NFTs is liquidity.
Yes.
And how to make them more liquid, because and especially now when so much money is trapped in those NFTs, like so much which could be used now during the bull market is locked inside of different NFT projects.
What do you mean locked?
Huge.
What do you mean they're locked?
Locked, not locked, but they're trapped inside. Like you bought NFT for $3 million, so it means you cannot use your $3 million to buy Bitcoin.
I see what you mean. Okay, I see what you mean. So you're trading.
Let's call it trapped.
Yeah, sure. I see what
so you have this $3 million worth NFT, and you cannot sell it immediately on the market like you can Bitcoin.
Unless
you have to wait you have to wait for the buyer. And so, yeah, it's not liquid like Bitcoin. And it's a huge decision to bet on, especially those high value ones. And I mean, for the floor prices, it's easy because now you have indexes, protocols that accept floor priced NFTs of certain projects. They say, okay, if you are if you have Penguin or I don't know, Playing Arts or something, you can go to this protocol, and if you don't want to wait for your buyer on OpenSea, you can simply sell it or lock it on that platform and get money in the return. And they have these second layer of token which represents floor prices of certain projects. Wow. So the floor prices of projects are more liquid, but the expensive NFTs from the same project are not liquid. And it's also like now you get all this industry thinking about how are we gonna make the whole NFT industry more liquid with second layers, some protocols. Also, like, how are we going to short NFT market? So many new products are going to come up. Like products like where you can short NFT market, like indexes where you can say, okay, this index with a basket of CryptoPunks, penguins, board monkeys, something like that. You know, the most famous project. Then you can say, okay, I'm going to short this index because I think their average price, depending what the index is it about the floor price or the average price or the higher band price? I'm going to short it or long it or whatever. There's going to be a huge economy built around NFT market, and especially it's all about how to create and enhance the liquidity aspect.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So you said, so Bitcoin and NFTs are on the opposite ends of the spectrum. The reason why Bitcoin is liquid is when you want to buy or sell some Bitcoin, say you want to buy some, you don't care which Bitcoin you get. I mean, that's the nature of fungibility. You don't care which Satoshis you get as long as you get 10,000 of them, right? Whereas because NFTs are one of a kind, that's it. Someone needs that one, to be able to offer the same, and they need to value it, ideally, more than the last price you paid for it. Otherwise, it's sat there illiquid in the way you describe it. So that is a big question. So say someone pays $3 million or $3 million worth of Ethereum for an NFT, depends why they bought it, right? We're assuming because it's an investment, because if it was, then that investor is assuming that the $3 million value that was in Ethereum that's now in the NFT is going to appreciate faster as an NFT than it would if you just held Ethereum. Tough call, that one, if you ask me,
Yeah, but all these people who are buying NFTs right now, it looks like a huge market, but these are basically still, crypto people. And many of them are whales, many of them are rich, many of them have bought it when it was $100.
So we're just recycling that value inside crypto right now.
Or they mined it when it was, I don't know, like $50.
Right.
And so they don't have this level of kind of, some of them do not care. Like if they like the project, they're just going to buy it. And if they're lucky, they're going to earn from it. It's still, these are really early days of NFT revolution. And I think this NFT market is going to evolve. And we are going to see maybe more careful investors, not so many people aping in everything. Sure. But still, it has been very good for many people, this NFT. But still, God knows how many of them are going to end up with bags of some useless NFTs whose prices will drop maybe 80%. We don't know. Right now, it's very, very early days.
When you call it a mania, that does sound like speculative, right? And so again, this is probably a speculative comment. The mania we see now in NFTs and the rapidly appreciating prices, based on what you just said, that sounds like it's a symptom of the amount of wealth early crypto investors have built. So to them, 100 ether here or 100 ether there, that would have been like 1 week's worth of mining a few years ago, of mining Ethereum on the days. Yeah. So to them, it's not really, $3 million worth of ether. It's a week's worth of mining I did 5 years ago.
Yeah, but it's not just them. You can believe you have so many crypto people who have put all their worth in, which is maybe not much, maybe tens of thousands of dollars. They put everything in NFTs.
NFTs. People are, wow, that's bold.
Everything, like 100%. People are going crazy. People are going crazy, and so it's not just about the price.
Well, that's greed,
people
I suppose.
Really, greed. No, people really like some projects, which is crazy. Like you have.
They like them that much.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But some of them have amazing gamified aspects.
Okay, let's talk about that. Go on. Yeah.
And they're very attractive, or they can be very unique in what they offer and why they're interesting. Like hash masks were very interesting because they offered you to change the names of the arts. So you were involved, you were part of the art because you are part of that art, and you can influence how that one particular piece will be successful,
right. It's a type of governance, isn't it, in that way?
Something like that, yeah. But the art deeds are not finished. They will be finished after 10 years, because after 10 years, you won't be able to influence the name of the hash mask, right. Okay. The name, the hash mask, things like that. So
it's evolving art for 10 years.
It's evolving. It's very interesting. You had the group of people who owned the clown, hash masks with clowns, and they displayed them on New York Square, Times Square, with specific, and they changed their names on the blockchain to represent the banks like they gave them the names of the banks, and so only people who were in the know, they would go to see the clowns on the whole square was full of the images of clowns, and you could go and see what does it mean, the number of, it was like kind of a puzzle thing, the mystery, but also new people could go and check why are these clowns, Google why are these clowns on the square. So and these marketing tricks, which can be done individually by someone, or can be done in groups of people who hold similar collections or whatever. These are all kind of raising value for those kind of pieces, which are in the same collection with others, but they become more recognizable.
Yes, absolutely. So that is something that has always been universal to art, which is often there's a meaning to it, which is the intention of the artist. And oftentimes the intention of the artist was to communicate some kind of message, but it's cryptic, right? When you see what looks like a defacing of a building, it might just look like, the Banksy one with the balloon and the little girls let it go,
Yeah.
That one. You might be like, well, someone's defaced that building and walk on. Whereas if you know what that means, or any art, if you know what it's communicating, then you go, I know what that means.
Yeah, but it's especially becomes interesting to investors, to collectors, when you can get yourself into the art as well, when you can use that art to say something else, or to push it in your, change the message, exactly. So you are part of the art.
And it's
that
also,
art, it's not just like you have Mona Lisa and it's on the wall.
And that's it.
It's interactive. It has this gaming kind of component.
And you can make it relevant to the time, like you just said. If you put it in Times Square and everyone's, at that time in history, everyone's hating the banks, you can mold the hash masks and make fun of the banks by changing the names, right? And then maybe later on, everyone loves the banks energy.
And you're not doing that like you're not mocking them publicly, like you're not breaking any law, but still on the blockchain.
Right? Yeah, sure.
It's a mysterious message which says banks are clowns. So, and specific banks are clowns. Mm-hmm. But that's very interesting. There are many. This kind of art, digital art, it carries something which physical art couldn't carry. Like digital art can go into physical.
Yes,
it can become physical. You can print it out. You can display it here and there. Now you have these motion frames for the wall where you can, display animations or whatever. But it just gives new usages to the art or to some other, and it gives more visibility to like music artists, like audio artists, not just DJs, but real kind of, or it gives more value to to people who are making cartoons, the
comic strip artists,
strip artists, or 3D animation artists. They're all kind of more valued because this is the environment that likes them. The younger people, millennials, or the younger than millennials, these are their real audience. And now they're concentrated and they're getting into this space. And you have these companies who are organizing, looking for the best artists, like cartoon artists or whatever, 3D animation artists, and they are curating them, giving them platform to show their deeds, what they made, and also to get from each purchase to get a royalty.
Their works, like their artworks, yeah.
Their works, sorry, yes. So on each purchase, or when the volume increases for some project, it means that the company which organized the project and the artists get royalties.
Yes.
So if you sell me some image, or whatever, the artists are going to get their cut, which is great. And it's going to be, visible to the artist immediately when it's done, and it's going to get immediately sent out to your artist wallet, etc. So it's very nice.
Absolutely. Yeah. I use that example. I think
It gives this transparency, to the artist and to the company and to the community, and we all know that it's fair.
And they get a share in the value they created. So the example I gave in our last conversation about NFTs was, if I paint the Marija portrait and then I sell you that for $100, that's it. That's me as the artist, I'm done. If that then goes on to sell for $10 million in a few years, in the NFT world, I might get 5% royalty on that. Whereas in the physical art world, you better make sure you sell it for 10 million the first time you sell it. But not many people are going to pay $10 million for a self-portrait. So that's that.
That's an amazing comment. Yeah, that's amazing, Chris. Exactly that. Because usually artists get recognized later on in the life or in afterlife, unfortunately. So this is an amazing thing.
So imagine that. Imagine the children of the artists. So maybe if someone's not famous in their own time, they pass those, what we're going to call it, the rights, their digital rights, onto their children, right? So they then pass the private key onto them, the key that owns that NFT and the royalties, and then it explodes. Elton John's kids or whoever, it explodes all of a sudden. Michael Jackson's kids explode, and then they're the ones that receive the royalties. And that art, a key to that art, can get passed on for as many generations as necessary. Imagine that. Imagine whoever the descendants of who painted the Mona Lisa, no idea. But that could still be going on every time the Mona Lisa's change hands. If it was digital, mind you. So that's a good one. So that
it's also a good thing because the project which is behind these, for example, for one, there is one good project, there is a team behind it. If they continue to receive these royalties, they will kind of be incentivized to continue to promote it or work on it, maybe give back to the community in terms of maybe they're going to create a site project and give out free NFTs, or or maybe create some kind of in a gallery. How do you say English when you make in a gallery?
A gallery, I'd call it. An exhibit.
Exhibit, yes. They can create exhibits, physical exhibits or virtual exhibits. There are many virtual exhibits. There are people who are exhibiting their NFTs which they own in virtual worlds. Virtual worlds are now a huge thing, and many people spend a lot of time in virtual worlds, and then there you have galleries. Then you have people who actually go inside the galleries to view things, or there's so many things going on in virtual world, and these digital kind of assets are needed.
Let's just spend a few minutes on the VR piece before we finish up today, because we're coming up to the hour. So VR, you already touched on this. So VR is going to play a big role in this, because what that does, it takes three-dimensional artworks that are, say, NFT images, but even you can see a lot of these NFTs that are like, spinning 3D images, but they're still they're 2D on the screen. It's a weird two-dimensional depiction of a three-dimensional object. Whereas when you take it into VR, you then control the motion around the object. So that's one thing. You can have a proper 3D object that you own in VR, and then other people would have to come into VR to view it. Interesting. But then beyond that, you could make the entire VR experience an NFT. So if someone wanted to experience that experience, they'd have to come to your house in VR to do it. Have you thought about this much?
No.
I've thought about it, because I'm always like, where is this going? So that's where my mind went. Imagine that. Yeah. Imagine if the NFT was an experience, right?
Yeah. Well, as I say, you can display it in your home. You have now. They're being built these special motion frames, and I was also surprised to see it. I didn't know that they already are starting to get sold, where instead of like this, you will have a frame like TV, but much nicer, where you can display your animations, your collectibles, whatever you have.
Your little exhibit.
Yes. And so, yeah, like they're very, like, you can display them, you can do whatever you want with them. You can display them in galleries, you can in virtual worlds, you can print them.
Yeah, absolutely, that'd be cool. My idea about the VR experiences, though, that would, because we've got all this fancy cryptography stuff, that's how we can protect these artworks. So the reason I'm pretty bullish on that idea about an NFT virtual reality experience is you could then make access permissioned, right? So the platform that hosts this would have to support this feature, but the way that would work is if you, so I don't know what the hell a VR experience NFT would look like. I have no idea, but someone's going to have to come up with that. But you could walk up to my front door, to my gallery, say, in VR, and then the system would know that I owned that piece of virtual real estate, that space in VR, and it would know, because of my Ethereum address and my key, it owns that VR experience and it's inside that space. But access to it, if you just walk up to it, you try the door in VR, it wouldn't open, right?
Yeah, so pay the ticket.
And then you'd go to the ticket booth, you'd pay it in crypto, I would receive that money, right? And then it would unlock for you, the owner of your private key, the door. And then in you would come and you'd have the VR experience once, no recordings, right? And then you walk out again and it would lock again. I mean, it's totally mind-blowing, totally mind-blowing. But that's where VR NFT experiences would go.
There's so many possibilities. And becoming creative in those possibilities. I mean, there are many creative people thinking about them, and like you gave an interesting idea, and so whatever you come up with now, someone is probably going to make it tomorrow, if not you.
I just can't get the time. There's so many. That's the trouble in this space. This what blows my mind are the possibilities. It's like I don't think there are enough people on planet Earth to actually roll out all the possibilities, and new possibilities are coming quicker than we can possibly ever roll them out. That's a little bit frustrating for someone like me because I can see it quicker than I can do it.
Yes, I know. It's very difficult.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this is probably not going to be the last conversation we have about this. So for now, Marija, thanks very much for being on the Sunday Special.
Thank you, Chris. It was very interesting.
And that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Weiss Crypto Sunday Special. Thanks again, Marija, for being on the show. Until the next one, it's me, Chris Coney, saying bye for now.